Well, good morning again, church family. We are excited to be with you for another week of reading. This week we covered 1 Kings 9 through 2 Kings 3, and we got through about 100 years of history in the nation of Israel. Solomon, he has completed the temple by this point, but then the division of the kingdoms ramp up. So the kingdom is now broken into two parts, the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. There are a dozen kings that rule between the two kingdoms, and it's pretty rough overall.
Yeah, I mentioned this a couple times in the weekly chat, but during the times of the judges, the people did what was right in their own eyes. That was a repeated theme during the time of the judges, and it was bad all the time. The peace that came did not last very long, and that was just over and over again. Then they thought that the problem was they didn't have a king, and that's what they needed. That having a king would solve all of their problems, but it didn't. The kings and the people still did what was right in their own eyes.
It didn't work out very well.
So it didn't work out. And ultimately, even those good kings didn't fully remove all the idols. And so as a result, there doesn't appear to be yet a true national surrender and devotion to the ways of Yahweh during these years. Maybe it'll get a little bit better in Second Kings. There's at least one good story still to come, but we're still a ways out from that. Then we get introduced to Elijah, and his entire ministry of prophecy is contained in the reading from this week. So post in the comments or share with us when you see us. What did you enjoy most about his prophetic ministry? For me, his faithful devotion to God, it was on full display, most notably in that story of Mount Carmel, where God defeats and humiliates Baal and his prophets.
Yeah, Elijah's got some cool stuff. And then we see Elisha come onto the scene. He is going to take up the mantle from Elijah, or his cloak, technically, and he was able to witness God's work through Elijah and desired to serve God in the same way. So that's what God brought about. That's what happened. And in this time, we also see Elisha's devotion on full display, just like Elijah. What did he do? He decided to kill his oxen. This was his livelihood. He could not return to being a farmer because he did this. Why would he do this? He wanted to show a couple things. This is an act of worship and an act of obedience. To leave all his life behind, to be fully devoted to God, and to follow Elijah every step of the way.
Yeah.
And God really used Elisha in his ministry. So, what we've seen this week is again a lack of devotion to God and his word. These kings take their own plans, their own pride, and it sets them up for failure and destruction again. As the prophets begin to step in and deliver God's word, we see them become the obedient examples instead of the kings. So, again, today we figured we would end with the choices that God set before Israel way back in Deuteronomy and consider how are they measuring up to these. But also look inside. How are you and I measuring up to these choices that God has commanded in his word? So we find this in Deuteronomy 30, and I'm going to summarize it a little bit. It says, "See, I have set before you today life and prosperity, death and destruction. For I command you today to love the Lord your God, to walk in obedience to him, and to keep his commands, decrees, and laws. I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life so that you and your children may live." So, church family, that's our encouragement this week. Choose life, pass it on to the next generation. Don't be like the Israelites that chose to forget generation after generation after generation. Make this known in your life and choose life today. We love you. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you Sunday.